Hello world, Dano here, stacking paper as always, and today we are reviewing Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. This is the philosophical classic, been on my TBR for many years, and decided to do it for my little book club read. This book is great. It's not even really a story as much as it is a treatise on Herman's very particular philosophy, which kind of is this. It's Buddhist, but it's got its own little spin to it. So essentially, the story is about this kid named Siddhartha, not to be confused with the Buddha, who lives at the same time as the Buddha and kind of crosses paths with him while he's going on his own spiritual journey. And he kind of just goes through these different stages of life, which are kind of similar to the Buddha story, but in like a different order. So he starts off as the son of a priest, decides to leave him, go and become an ascetic, which is exactly what the Buddha did, except the Buddha started as like a prince. And then after that, kind of reaches like semi-enlightenment for like a second, and then decides to go and start hanging with this courtesan, like this lady that essentially runs like a brothel, and starts to learn from her, learns from this merchant, gets caught in a loop of samsara, goes on again, and this continues like two more times while he gains new perspective each time, and then by the end of the story he's truly enlightened, you could say. But it's hard to say exactly what the story's about. It's got a lot of themes going on, like knowledge versus wisdom. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is definitely a big theme. But on top of like the philosophy, the prose is just beautiful. Considering this was originally written in German and this is an English translation, the English translation is really good. It really gets across, like, I guess, like the beauty of what Siddhartha is experiencing. Not just the beauty, but like the horror too. But it's kind of like the beauty in the horror, without spoiling the whole thing. Essentially, what I can grasp from it is that everything is everything. That's kind of the whole gist of it, and love has to pervade all. I mean, like, instead of reading this book, you could just listen to "Love Is All You Need" by the Beatles. That's definitely joking. This is a book worth reading. It's not even really a book. It's a novella. It's not a full novel. It's so quick. I think it's like 40,000 words. You could breeze through this. But it's a really beautiful story. Like, and it's still very relatable. It kind of mirrors the struggles of what a lot of people go through in different walks of life, because he goes through different stages. There's a point in the story where he's like super rich and he's wearing like lavish clothes, he's gambling, right? But that doesn't bring him fulfillment. But neither does being an ascetic. That doesn't bring him fulfillment either. So it's this middle path philosophy that's definitely peppered through the whole thing. But I feel like by the end of it, a lot of it is just kind of letting go and just becoming part of the stream of life, as opposed to merely observing it, by like just actually just immersing yourself. And yeah, I mean, like, it's hard. It's a weird book to review because I don't even like know how to really encapsulate what's going on. It's one of those books that you just kind of have to experience it. You just got to give it the read and then go, interesting. I'm actually really happy I read this with other people, because getting their perspectives is super helpful, because everyone kind of will take something different from it. Even though, like, I would say, like, knowledge versus wisdom, that is definitely like the big one, because Siddhartha is this seeker. He's constantly looking, for truth. He's the seeker of truth. And he does meet the Buddha at some point in the story and explains to him, listen, I can tell you're enlightened. I can tell, like, whatever you've got going on is great. His buddy Govinda ends up following the Buddha and wants Siddhartha to come with him. And Siddhartha says, you know what, this is for you. Like, I can't do that because this wouldn't help me. And he explains that to the Buddha himself, saying, I think all your teachings are good, but I think fundamentally the way that you are, this enlightened, elevated being that you've become, it's not something that you can teach. And this is repeated near the end of the story where he's like, you know, trying to explain what a doctrine is and putting, you know, all these rules and over-analyzing. It's like it gets lost in translation. You kind of just have to live it. You have to live in love, you know, instead of living in, I guess, sin. Not necessarily sin, but like confusion or like this constant seeking. Because like, I guess I am kind of just getting into like minor spoilers, but he meets his buddy at the end of the story, and he's been a follower of the Buddha his whole life, but he's still seeking. You know, he hasn't reached that point. And he explains as such, like, listen, you're in your, like, what, 60s, 70s now? You're still seeking, but you haven't really, you're never going to find it like that. You kind of just have to find enlightenment where you are. It's not like you got to get, like, a checklist and go through it. You just have some lived experience and just listen to, I guess, what the world is trying to tell you. I don't know, man. All I know is this book's good. I'd give it a solid 8.5. Like it didn't blow me away as much as I think, or as much as I thought it would have. But maybe if I read it when I was like a lot younger and didn't know anything maybe about Buddhism or other worldly religions. But it's one of those novels that I can tell it has a lot of reread value. And like I might read this like every like 5 years, just give this a quick read, and then, you know, it's gonna probably slowly elevate. But for now, solid book, 8.5. It should be something that everybody reads. It's short enough that you can just crush through it. But yeah, what am I reading now? Now I am reading 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, the famous not adaptation of a movie. What's interesting is this book was written at the same time that the screenplay for the movie was being written. So Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick worked together to both make the book and the screenplay. So it's a very unique version of adaptation, because it's not so much an adaptation. It's how do I even explain it? It's like a multimedia work, you know, where the book influenced the movie as much as the movies influenced the book. It's just extra perspective. Really, really good so far. Also trying to finish Will of the Many. I'm on part 3, so that should be done soon. And who knows? Maybe I'll slip some Heart of Darkness in there, because it's another book that's kind of just been staring at me from the shelf that I really want to get to. But yeah, until then, thanks for tuning in.